Hi, I'm Susan Weimer. I'm from www.stampbackandrelax.blogspot.com. I'm Susan_Weimer on Instagram, and I'm a member of the Craftin Divas design team, and this video is a video tutorial for them on how to make an easel card. This is the card we'll be making, and it's a card obviously for Happy Mother's Day, and it's for my mom who loves flowers. And we'll get right into it. So for today's card, I have an A2 piece of Copic Expressive blending paper. I have the Botanical Layers stamp set from Craftin Divas, and we're going to use the outline images from this stamp set. You can layer with this, but I wanted to give, for some crazy reason, no line stamping a go today because I've not ever done it before. Well, I've done it a couple times. There's my stamp mask, and there's some trial flowers. And then I have, still allergy season, a bone folder, and an A2 top folding card. So I cut a piece of paper at 4.25 by 11. Couldn't be any easier. And that is the base part of our easel card. And I have my Misty, which I have discovered is really great. And I've used some Eclipse masking tape to make some masks. And we'll just go through quickly how to put that aside. Oh, I wanted to show you all my Copics. This isn't even a fraction of what I used. Yeah. If you had seen my desk when I was through, you would have gone, oh my gosh. It was a mess. So very simply, we're just going to score this at 2 3/4 as I line it up. So it already was scored at the 5.5 mark, and we're just going to score at 2 3/4. And I got this tutorial from Lindsay the Frugal Crafter. And it's just easy. I couldn't believe how easy it was. I had never made an easel card before, and I'm sure many of you have made this and don't need to watch this part of the tutorial. But for me, this was one of the hardest parts. I have a hard time with measurements, believe it or not. So that's going to form the base of it. And now let's move on to the masking. So I have my map that shows me where I want to mask. And I'm using some light colored ink because I couldn't find my antique linen distress ink. I'm not sure where it is. So after I stamp, I put on the masks. We're going to go through that whole thing. I think one thing that I could have improved upon is where I put the other flowers in reference to the flower that I stamped in the center. So I mask that off. I am wiping off the stamps in between because I'm going to use them later, and I want to be able to not put them down and have ink get on my paper. So this ink that I'm using is Copic friendly, as would antique linen be, had I been able to find it. Which reminds me, I probably should go looking for it. And I'm just going to get in some leaves. I thought I would bring some leaves to the front because we often leave leaves in the back. But after doing this, I'm not sure that I would have done that. I thought it might look pretty. And what I did in order to prepare for this is that I've watched Dawn Wolfslegel's video on her YouTube channel for W+9 several times. There's a Copic, no-line Copic coloring video on coloring the modern anemone stamp set, and I've watched it several times, studied it in hopes of being able to understand this, and I do think it's helped, but I think I have a lot more practice that I need to do. I don't know how Kelly Latavola masks this many things in one video. My gosh, it's just a lot. And then I'm trying to place that flower. And again, I think I should have moved the other one up a little further. That lily that's there. And then that would have given this one more space because when it came time to color it, it was just a pain. And I'm wishing that I had thought about some of this before I did it. It looked okay when I stamped it on my stamping map, but I would definitely do this differently. And I do recommend that you stamp out ahead in black to see where you're going. And what I did was I used some really, really, really inexpensive paper. I think I bought on sale years ago. We're out of copy paper, so I found some very cheap cardstock that I have in my craft room, and I used that. So I'm sorry this video is so long. I tried speeding it up. This is a whole lot faster than it actually was. And what I end up doing here with those extra leaves is some of them I don't color in. So I'm going to pull off the masks, reveal the beauty. And you can't really see it because it's no line or light color ink, as you can see. You can barely see it. So we'll start with the coloring, and what I'm doing first is mapping in my mapping in my shadows, with a Y11 marker. And this type of coloring does take a long time. Going back over, blending that out a little bit with Y13. So I'm going to gradually increase in darkness and then go back. So I'm doing that flower that's over there, which I ended up grabbing the raw markers for. Whoops. So I actually think this flower looks pretty at this point. I'm almost wishing that I had left it. But if you go to the Y000s, they become almost like a lime greeny color. They're almost neon. So I could have lightened it up. So this is Y17, which is the darkest color in this particular grouping of the Y1s. And again, I'm reinforcing those shadows, extending them a little bit, and then I'll be going back over and blending them. And this is just the first flower, so you can imagine how long. I actually even turned off the camera for a while. I'm going to go back over with the Y11 and blend this in, and then back again with the Y15. Excuse me, just had to shut my phone off. And this really is a pretty flower. I'm not sure that it should have been yellow, but yellow and pink are my mom's favorite color combinations. So that's basically why I picked what I picked, with the exception of putting a red flower. You'll see that coming up. And I'm going to try and save those stamens in there. This is YR18. I just didn't like the level of detail that I got in. I'm trying to get those places where there would be some crevices in the tops of the petals. And I'm using the Y18 to do that and bring some of that in. Okay, so my SIM card died, and I was now really aggravated, so I stopped and changed my nail polish. That's always a good way to relax, right? And I have my nail polish right here in my craft room because I don't want it anywhere else in the house because I'll just ruin something. So I've lost already the stamen and the anthers that come off the middle part, which I forget. That has a name too. And I'm going to just make an adaptation here. Dawn has in her video an extensive tutorial on how to really get your centers to pop, how to add some cast shadows with other colors, and since this is my first time, I just basically gave up. Not gave up. I didn't give up. I just decided that this was all I could accomplish at this particular time. And I'll go back and do these flowers over again with a different set of colors, I think. Because this yellow is not my favorite. As you can see, I'm tapping my fingers. Okay, so I'm trying to add in some cast shadows using V20, and I picked a violet color because violets and yellows are complementary color. So the violet should tone the yellow down where it's in shadow. And the other thing that I was looking for in the Copics, and I should maybe have tried some of the E colors, is where there are shadows, you can use a desaturated color, but the Y's only go up through the 3s. And they just weren't desaturated enough. But I'm thinking now as I look at this that maybe some of the E's might have been a good choice. The light E's, like E30. So now I'm just stippling in my faux center of my flower. And I'm using some Y23 to kind of blend that some more, because I'm still not happy with this. I spent hours on this flower. This was 2.5 hours of video. And back to the Y17 again. Excuse me while I drink my coffee. I will try to edit these sounds out. But I hope you're enjoying a break, watching this video. Hope your children are napping. If they're not napping, my granddaughter will actually sit still and watch a video, which is just wonderful. When I'm babysitting, she's not allowed much screen time, and I'll pull up a video. One of my card making friends, and she'll watch it. And she's actually got her own stamps now. And she's 2, and she just sent me her first hand-stamped card. Oh my gosh, what a treasure. So I'm still going to futz with that card. I think part of it is I just don't like the yellows, maybe. Or I've got to find a better combination. Maybe use one of the blonde hair combinations on Pinterest. That might be good. So this is it's R12, which I think is such a pretty corally color. And again, I'm mapping in my shadows. And these are very big flowers. And over to my left-hand side, what you don't see is the packaging of the stamp. And I am sort of trying to emulate what the next 2 layers, because they're layered, it's a layered stamp set, would look like in terms of shadowing. And I think the next time that's what I'll do. Before I color in an outline image, I'll go and I'll stamp out the layers and to see what they look like. And the other thing that you can do is do your layered stamping, but do your layers and the base flower in lighter colors. And then you can go in and add your Copics. And it actually works really, really well for, excuse that little pause of nothing there. So this is R32, which is just a smidgy bit darker than R12. And I'm going to try and bring this in closer. A little concerned about my hand, and yep, that gets in the way. So I'm just going back, trying to blend in, and it doesn't look half bad here at this point, but coming up is going to be a major bloop. Yeah. It's the part of the flower that goes under the yellow flower. that I just got too heavy-handed with my darks. I think I should have left some of those and instead of assuming they would be that much darker, I should have used some sort of cast shadow with probably a green or probably like C3 in the grays, or maybe even one of the ends might have looked really good. So I'm sorry that I kind of did this to it. I should have left it. I should have colored it in at this point. And then this is our 35. Yeah, that's a crazy flower. And again, I'm just sort of ignoring the anthers and the stamen in the center part of the flower because, oh, I got out E07. Talk about going dark. I don't know why I did this, but, I figured I would show it anyway because you can learn from other people's mistakes, and I'm learning from going off camera here. Sorry about that. Hope my granddaughter doesn't watch this one, but she's only 2. She likes to hear my voice. She actually calls me Dammy. I might have said that before. I'm supposed to be Grammy, so now we're trying to go for Gammy, but it's just so cute when she calls me Dammy. So I'm really trying to highlight and see. I just do not like it. Looks like a butterfly wings going underneath that the yellow flower, and I just don't like it. But I didn't want to stop at this point because I have other things that I have to work on, and I wanted to make sure I had my Mother's Day card ready to go because it's a holiday I often forget, or I'm at the last minute just throwing my craft room apart trying to make her a card. More E09. Oh my goodness. Why did I do that? And this is sped up, I think, to 6 times speed. So that's how long this took. So this next one should be the pink flower. And I'm not sure why it's not coming up. And I guess we're going to wait. So meanwhile, in my world, my husband's at a baseball game and I am editing a video. And I'm off camera. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to this. And now I figured it out. To just kind of add a different highlight. Flowers aren't all one shade. See, that looks like butterfly wings. Oh, gosh, why did I do that? And I'm going to try the YG00, but that on the one little part of the stamen, I think it's the stamen, and the anthers of or is it the other way around? Yeah, I don't know. And then we got YG11. And I'm telling you, I don't like that. I've got to figure that out. I think I need to stamp this all over again. And I'm going to put some YG11 down there to try and add in some shadow. And then I try YG91, which is a green, but it's a grayish green. And I thought it might add in some nice cast shadows. But now we're starting on the other lily with RV000. Just mapping in my shadows again with these lighter colors, and I guess I got the camera up too close. And then RV63 is my next lightest color. I think at some point I pull in an R83, which is in between the two. But I really am wishing that I had not quite spent so much time doing this. I'm wishing I had left the lines in or stamped the layers in a lighter color. There, I'm going back into that flower. I'm going to fix it one way or the other. But really, there's no fixing it. And that's RV25. Excuse the dryer. Noise in the background. And we'll just keep working on this flower. And I'm just going to stop the camera when I've colored all 3 of the flowers and 1 of the leaves in, because I don't think that you need to see all the rest of them, because again, it just took me forever to color these in. But I actually told my husband that I couldn't come to the baseball game for a date with him because I had a video to edit. Now, my husband never, ever, never takes time off from work. Never. But the only time he does is when we're at baseball games. So I can't believe I told him no. That's a very strange thing for me to do. But it was well worth editing this video because I got to see a lot of what I did and would do differently the next time I do this card. Or use these flowers, which I definitely will because I think they're pretty. And RV69, I think was, the little dots there in the center of this flower. And subsequently, this is another mistake that I made. I had originally had some of these images up on Google. And for this one, I didn't. And what's true about this lily is that the edges of it are white and the middle of it is pink. So I kind of goofed up. And now that I think of it, I think that yellow flower would be really pretty as a white flower. And those stamen or anthers, ew, don't like those either. So I'm going to add a little bit of YG, get some yellows pulled in. Another color that looks good with these are some of the YRs. Those look really good. And now I'm just going to map in my shadows for the leaves. And the good thing about no line coloring on these leaves is that you don't have to follow the veins that are in the stamp. You can add highlights and shadows wherever you want. So this is some BG09, I think, and that's YG17. I'm just mapping in my shadows, pulling in lots of different colors. I actually like the way these leaves came out. And then some that should be YG000. I hardly ever use the Y00s. Then I'll pull back in some more YG13. And then some G29 for my deepest, darkest colors. And I really love this color. And then back to blend that all out again. And my paper was really getting saturated with ink, and it could have held more. So that's why I like this Copic Express It blending. I don't know what these would have looked like. So that was a card, sorry, the front of it. And now I'm just trying to figure out where to place my stamps. And I'm using a gray ink, just a dye ink. And I was going to use a Distress Oxide, and I was just worried with how small this sentiment is, that a pigment ink can really kind of goop up or stamp too thickly what's going on in the stamp. So I just went with the dye ink that I had. And it wasn't a Distress. The Distress Pumice Stone, I think, is the gray one. I just really didn't like the way that looked. So there's the day. The day is up there, stored on the top of my Misty. And then I'm going to use the ruler and I'm going to slide it down, keeping it lined up with the edge of the card so that I know that I'm straight. I'll go ahead and ink that up again. But I think using a gray ink when you have a card that's vibrant and well, it looks fairly good, but I could have done better. But anyway, using gray, I think, allows for more focus on the card itself. And so I'm using a die cut in pink from the Happy die cuts. And I just used the front of it, not the shadow part. I'm going to take it out of my Misty and I'll glue that on. And I picked that because my mom loves pink. And it might not have been my first choice, but it worked. That's just matte medium and a fine line tip applicator that I use. And I'm just going to put that on there. It glues down and quickly, and it glues a matte finish that's clear. And what you can't see is the bloop. Oh, excuse my head. That the Y is covering up. I had a marker bloop over there. So that's it so far. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do next to it. And you can see a little chickadee over in the corner there that I've colored. But this is on my desk. Well, no, it shouldn't be just my desk. I'm going to use the scalloped rectangles. There's this cute little die in it that cuts these 3 little hearts. But I thought that I needed something on the inside of the easel card to help the card to stand up. So I'm going to glue these 3 little hearts together. So far, it seems to be working to hold the design in place. My mom's always sending me back. I'll make her sets of cards, and she will send them back to me with notes that say, I thought you might want some of your artwork back so you could frame them. So I thought this time I would give her an easel card. I'm just going to dry that under a clear block so that she could display my cards. And whenever she has a birthday or it's a holiday, she puts out every single card she receives on this curio that she has in the living room. So you've got brownie points if you've got a card out on that curio. So now I'm just going to put some adhesive on the bottom part of the easel card, the bottom fold. And then I'm going to add, of course, some sequins. I can't not. I have them. And actually I had pulled the entire drawer full of sequins out. And there's a tiny little yellow bloop. So I'm just trying to figure out my arrangements so that I can cover that. This is my new craft pick, which I have to say works really, really well. Works better than the one that Silhouette, I think, makes. I think that's where my other one was from. Or was it Quick Sticks? Oh yeah, it was Quick Sticks. And I just like the tip is rubber and it pretty much goes down exactly where you put it, assuming you put the glue exactly where you thought it was going to go. And Mom does like some sparkle on her cards. So this will get me a place on the curio, and my card will be bent up like a piece of artwork. So I don't get to see, my mom's actually coming in a couple of days. Oops, excuse the turn on the camera. And then you can see that's how it's supposed to stand up. So what I'm going to do is decide how I want it standing. And then I'm going to put that little heart there. And because it's stacked up in 3s, it should hold the card. Yep. Okay. But then don't do it when it's wet because she'll move the card. So there's the card. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bearing with me in this long video. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to see more videos, and thumbs up if you'd like to see more videos like this. And thank you very much for coming, and I appreciate your being here, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.